Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome to our next flight by request. And this particular flight is, in many ways, to me, and probably to many of you, kind of a sad flight. We're going to recreate the Delta Airlines final passenger service flight in the 747. Now, after looking at this a little bit, I found out that this wasn't technically the only flight they did, but as far as I can tell, it was the very last part of their farewell tour, if you will. So we're going to fly from Atlanta or KATL up to KMSP. Now, of course, this aircraft is going to see many more years of service as far as the flight simulation community is concerned, and the aircraft is going to continue to be flown for cargo carriers for a long time as well, and especially in the 800 variant. But it is kind of sad to see it go, and in that sense, that really makes this flight by request kind of special, kind of sad, kind of cool, and something a little bit different. I imagine somebody's already done this flight, but you guys get the point. So really, this flight is dedicated to 3 people or 2 people and an entity in this case. So first and foremost, you know, this flight is kind of like a dedication to the 747 and the long history of it. And I'm actually thinking about putting together a cool little cinematic video, not in this video, but just a cool little cinematic that sort of just highlights the beauty of this aircraft. So in that sense, it's you know, it's dedicated to the 747 and the history of the aircraft. The flight is also going out to the original requester, my man Dog Tag, and he put in the request, and pretty straightforward. Just he said, you know, it'd be really cool if you could recreate this flight. And I thought, man, that'd be fantastic. So Dog Tag happens to be the CEO over at Virtual Delta. He's also a good friend of mine, and I'm more than happy to put this flight together for him. And then the final one, the final dedication for this flight goes out to my friend Jay. And I'm not going to say Jay's last name on here because I'm not sure if he wants me to or not. He probably won't care, but you know, you guys know me, I typically don't do that. But this goes out to Jay because I happen to just be talking about this flight on a live stream yesterday, I think it was. You know, and I just mentioned that I want to do this flight. I'm looking forward to it, but it's going to have to wait until I can afford to pick up the scenery for KMSP. I already had the scenery here for Atlanta, and Flightbeam does a beautiful scenery up there at KMSP, but it's $30. I just told him it's going to have to wait. Christmas just passed, spent a lot of money, but I'm going to get to that pretty soon. While Jay decided to go ahead and purchase that scenery and donate it to me, so that he could see this flight, and so that you guys could see it as well. And you know, I was just blown away by that. Totally unexpected, absolutely. That was just amazing. That blew me away, and that's the second time in 2 days that somebody donated a scenery to me, and so I was just really humbled by that. And so I just want to thank you, Jay, from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate that. That was absolutely extremely generous and awesome of you. And so you are the primary dedication on this flight, my friend, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. So with all of that being said, traffic's already starting to pull out. We got the LSG Sky Chefs loading up the goodies here, and we're getting ready for our flight from Atlanta to Minneapolis, St. Paul. Now, the jetways don't work at this airport, which really sucks, but other than that, they actually did a pretty decent job on it. It'd be nice to see if they'd upgrade it. I forget who made it. Anyway, it'd be nice to see if they'd update it or upgrade it so that things worked a little bit more. But we're going to finish getting our catering loaded here, start loading some packs. We're going to hop on the flight deck, and we're going to get this bird in the air. Alright, here we are on the flight deck, guys. You can see we've got the power on the aircraft. I actually just had a question. Somebody's asking me which power up or panel state do I use, the long or the short panel state preset that they have here on the PMDG. I don't actually use either, which I probably should. It's kind of silly, actually, but typically what I do is when the aircraft loads in, you know, it's all started up, ready to go, and I just attach ground power and then shut everything down to the state that I want it in. So I don't know why I got in that habit, but that's kind of what I do. But essentially, we're in what amounts to the short turn panel state, in case you're wondering about that. Anyway, let's go ahead and press on here because we've still got a lot of work to do, and we want to get this rolling pretty darn quick here. So we've got everything done on our checklist all the way down to setting up the FMC. and that's sort of the idea. That's what we want. Excuse me. So we come down here to our FMC. Position initialization page is going to be first. Back here on the first page, on the ident page, we're just checking to make sure we have the aircraft that we expect. It's the Pratt & Whitney 4056 engines. This is becoming more and more important to me. Normally I wouldn't. I just say whatever. It's no big deal, right? Excuse me. But using Top Cat now, I need to make sure that I'm using the right engine variant in here, because these engines do have different thrust ratings and so on. So I want to make sure that I have the right engines in here and current air X cycle and all that, right? That's typical. So for you guys, if you're concerned with your thrust ratings and stuff, then you definitely want to check on that, okay? Moving on to position initialization. We're good here. The Irs Alignment's already taken place. That's one of the things that I make sure is taken care of in our pre-flight. So I forgot to mention it, but I probably popped it up already in the top right corner here. You know, if you hold your mouse over here, you should see a little info icon. That'll take you to the full flight tutorial for the PMDG 747. So if you're curious, or you don't understand how we got to the state we're at, or how to do things like align the IRS and so on, click on that. It'll take you over to that video, and it explains everything in there, I think, pretty well. So, okay, moving on. So let's go to our route here. I got smart this time, and I actually put the route in the appropriate folder. Well, I think I did. Maybe I didn't. I swear to you, I put it in that folder. I'm telling you guys right now, I put it in that folder. That's just absolutely. I put it in there, and I put it in there before I started this thing up. Oh, come on! I don't want to build this route by hand again. Oh, for crying out loud. Okay, guys, well, I'm going to pause for just a second here and just see what happened with that, and then I'll be right back. Well, I don't know what happened, guys. It is in that folder. It's in the appropriate folder, but for some reason it's not showing up in here, so we're just going to have to build it the old-fashioned way. It's trying to avoid that, but we're not going to be, obviously we're not able to. You have to shut down the sim and restart it if you're going to put a new flight plan. I'm just not messing with it. So it is what it is. We'll just go ahead and we'll build it the old-fashioned way. So KATL, it won't take us that long anyway. And we're going up to KMSP. So throw both of those in there. The flight number on this one is Dallas Airlines DAL 9771. That was the flight number for this flight, so I wanted to make sure that I got the right flight number in there. And then I'll try to remember to save it as a company route when we're done. We are going to be taking runway 9 left. I'm not going to put that in there though. I'm going to activate this for the moment. And then let's go to, so if you go to next page, you can start building the route here, but I want to grab my departure and well, not necessarily my arrival, but my departure first. So departing out of Atlanta, we're going to be taking runway 9 left, and it's going to be the Varnum 2, which is going to be several pages down here. Here we go, Varnum 2 departure and out to Resby. So we grab all of those. I don't have to hit execute or anything like that. When I click on route, now you see it's Varnum 2 out to Resby is already in here. I got the hiccups for some reason. It's really obnoxious. So from Resby, we're going to be taking an airway. It's J89. So we're going to grab that down here real quick if I can find the J. J89. When you stick that over here, you see the boxes show up. That means you have to put something in here. So that'll be to IIU. So IIU. And that'll complete that. And then from IIU, it's direct to TTH. So you just go down here and type TTH, and you can put it on this side. So if you're doing an airway, you got to put it over here and then where you're going to. If you're going direct from one waypoint to the next, you just put it on this side. I think I've explained that before anyway, but I'll probably say it every time we do it just because, or at least until I figure out how to get the flight plans to show up in a frickin' folder like they're supposed to, right? CMI is next. Alright, and then BDF comes after that. And this one should yeah, so it's going to ask us for which one it is. So this is one of those areas where you want to make sure that you have that information on your flight plan available to you, whether it be the frequency of the VOR or the lat long. Now I know in this case it is this one because I put this flight plan in here before. However, don't always assume it's the first one. It should be the first one because that should be the closest one to you. But don't assume that it's the first one, or you might find yourself in trouble. And I've made that mistake in the past. So anyway, from BDF is to DBQ. DBQ, again, just put it in over here, and then from DBQ it's direct to RST. And then again here, so you want to check and make sure you have the right frequency. I know it's 112.0 only because I did this once already. So in it goes there, and then from RST we're back on an airway. It's going to be Victor 24. So again, when you're putting in an airway, the airway goes on the left side. That creates boxes over here, which means this is a mandatory entry now. And that's going out to Casper, KASPR. Put that in there. And then that's it. Then we're on to our arrival from there. So let's activate that really quick. And then go to departure arrivals again. Now it's got Atlanta departures. We don't want that, so click on index. We want the arrival for MSP, and then the arrivals, see how they're listed by runway number, right? And there's 15 pages of them, by the way. So I'm not going to grab my arrival right now because I don't actually know which runway we're going to be landing on. And even though technically it's the same arrival no matter which one you get, it does change a little for different runways, right? So anyway, the point is we're not grabbing that right now. Enough about that. So let's go to our, click on route, and then let's go to our performance initialization here. Or we could actually click on that again. You could save this as a company route, right? So just clicking on it doesn't do anything, obviously. Click on route, save. 747, file name Dallas 9771. Yeah, I like that. We'll confirm that. So execute. And so now that should be the company route, right? So if I went to request, sending request, looks like it's gonna probably just grab it now. I don't know. I was hoping that the send request would take me to the folder. Actually, let's go to route 2. Let's see if that takes us to the folder. Yeah, so see now that route is in there now, Dallas 9771, right? So return, we don't need the route 1 uplink. Let's go back over here to route 1. Route page, performance initialization. Let's carry on with this. Okay, so in our Cargolux version, it already put the gross weight in there for us, and we just confirm it. So I think it's an FMC option. It may actually be an option in the real aircraft where the aircraft calculates gross weight for you or does not. I don't really know. But anyway, in our case, it's not calculated in here. So I could either grab it from my flight plan, what it's supposed to be, which even though I'm using PFPX, it's not always that accurate. Or I can just go with zero fuel weight here, 484.4, which I do know is correct because that's the zero fuel weight I put in. Put that right there, and that's going to do the gross weight for me. Reserves are going to be 15,000, maybe. Cost index of 85. Coming up over here, cruise altitude is flight level 400. And then go to our thrust limit page. And so based on TopCat's calculations, so we are using TopCat, based on our weight, the weather, all of that stuff, it's telling us that's going to be flaps 10 and takeoff 2. So we're going to go takeoff 2, I'm going to go climb 1, and then on our takeoff page, we're going to put flaps 10 up here, and then you're going to see our V speeds are going to show up down here, so we'll confirm those. 125, 133, 149, and then again in the Cargolux variant we were using the center of gravity's there and you just confirm it. In this case we need to click on here to get the center of gravity. Now you could get the center of gravity, so we've got it at 19%. It's going to show our trim here, but let me grab TopCat here so you can see on here this is giving us, if we do a, does it do it on the takeoff page? I don't recall. Let's go compute real quick and see if it tells us center of gravity. I don't think it does on this one. I think we need to go back to the weight and balance page. So on the weight and balance page, you can see our zero fuel weight. It shows center of gravity at 19.6%, 21.6 on takeoff weight. That's based on all these numbers, which we did put into the aircraft, but we still get 19% on here. So you see where there's a little variance there, and I don't necessarily trust that entirely. So this is the page we want to keep up. Leave that at leave that on the takeoff page. 149, so that makes 154 our V2 plus 5. So 154. We're going to be able to go all the way up to 40,000. I've checked this before. I actually started recording this yesterday, and I wasn't able to finish recording it. And so it wasn't really about errors. It's just I have a hard time starting and then stopping a recording and then jumping back into it in the middle, it just feels really awkward and weird to me, and so I try to avoid that at all costs. So I hadn't gotten very far anyway, so I just decided to restart it. So flight directors need to come on. Altimeter is 3034. Oh, I forgot. So there's an option in the FMC to make it so that you can scroll these, or you just hold them down. Like right now I have to hold it, and then you can drag it to speed it up, right? Or to see, and this is minimums I'm messing with right now, so, but it doesn't go that much faster. Yeah, there we go, now it's going faster. I don't really like the click and hold, but the advantage that it has is that you can go one at a time. You can go one digit at a time, or 10 digits at a time, whereas when you scroll it, it's only 10 digits at a time. So, something to consider. The Barrow 3034, we'll set that real quick. And this will set on both sides. Now, that's not typical. Normal operation, real world operation, it wouldn't. Both the pilot and co-pilot would have to set their own. There we go. Okay, 3034 on there. It's 2 degrees. It's actually kind of chilly out, 2 degrees Celsius outside, but we're fine on that. Okay, let's go over to our checklist, make sure we're not missing anything. All of that is good there. We do need to set our squawk code down here. And see, that's always on TARA when I fire it up. I don't like that. But 2336 on here. Sounds like passenger loading is complete. There we go. And then test this. And there's the test taking place. Altimeter is set, flight directors are on, LNAV and VNAV can be armed, runway heading is...
TCAS test, pass.
Excellent, 275, we can set that on here. There we go, 275. Once the test is passed, we can put that to TARA. Let's see, autopilot disengage bar is up, fuel control switches are in the cutoff position, that's these 4 down here. Trim settings, they're not set yet. We are going to have to set our trim. Auto brakes to RTO. Now, auto brakes are a tricky thing in this aircraft in that if you are flying a different variant, it's going to be in a different place. For example, in the KLM aircraft, it's right here. Where does that pop up? There's what it pops up. Okay. In the KLM aircraft, it's right here. In the Cargo Lux aircraft, it's right here, and in the Delta aircraft, it's right here. So left click it to RTO and make sure you take a minute to figure out where your auto brakes are at, right? TCAS switch test is done. It's on TARA. No smoking, fasten seatbelt signs are on. Flight deck door is locked. Traffic button on the IFAS is already, is already pushed. This is the IFAS. I forget what it stands for. Engine function something other. Anyway, it's this guy right here. Traffic button's the middle of this one here. You push it and it shows the traffic on there, okay? And then fuel button on the ICAS, that's over here. So the ICAS is engine instruments, and I just can't right now. I can't do acronyms. Anyway, it's both of these, right? So we're going to use the lower, and that's what these buttons work on here. So it tells us to press the fuel button. So you press this one here, and then turn on all the fuel pumps. So right now everything's white on here, and what you'll see is that when we turn on the fuel pumps, that they'll turn, where the fuel's being pumped from will turn green, right? So if we hop up top here, we can just show that to you. So fuel pumps coming on, and you'll see those turn green. And in this case, we do need to turn on these overrides. So now right now we've got these cross feeds on, and the way this works, I don't think I've ever really shown this. If this one is greater than this one, then this cross feed needs to be on. If this one is greater than this one, then this cross feed needs to be on. When they're even, the cross feed doesn't need to be on. But sometimes when they're even, you'll still get the warning telling you to turn the cross feeds on. Everybody tracking on that? Okay, fantastic. Moving on. Okay, so that takes care of cross feeds, and that takes us up to our engine start and pushback procedures and checklists. So I'm just going to step away for a moment, come right back, we'll get going. Alrighty folks, let's go ahead and take care of this engine start and pushback procedure. So our loading is completed here. I hate that it's, for some reason, sometimes it'll allow me to access this on the side here, and sometimes it won't. It's just really stupid to me. Anyway, it's not even going to do it right now. It's just I'm not dealing with that crap. I'm not dealing with stupid little crap where it doesn't want to function properly. I'm just not in the mood for that. So let's try this over here. We need to close all our doors because GSX is done. Boarding is completed. So I'm closing all the doors right now, and then I'm going to use the arm all function. That's just the easiest way to deal with it, right? Why even bother doing anything else? So park and brake is set down there. So now I want to go to my ground connections, and as typical, I almost always forget this, but this is why I do this in this way, right? So I go to ground connections here, and I see I want to release the chocks, right? But I've got ground power on. Oh yeah, that's right, because I haven't started the APU yet. Right click it once, right click it a second time. Now the APU is firing up. Takes just a minute to start up, so that kills a little bit of time for us, my bad, but at least you don't forget to start the APU. Now the other option, of course, is to just start the APU at the point in the checklist where it says to start it. Just keep in mind you're going to burn more fuel than you realize doing that. So I don't know. I could start the APU a little bit sooner, but I think the main reason I stopped doing that is because I just tend to talk a little more than I expect to. And you know, if you end up talking like as much as I do, you might burn a lot more fuel using that APU than you expect, right? Okay, you can click on your status page right here, and I'll tell you, you can see the APU spinning up down here. So the N1's at 60% and so on, N2. So that's just give you an idea. It's going to be getting close to being ready now anyway. Hey, look at that. APU's ready to rock and roll. So 1 and 2 on. Now we can come down here, and there you go. So you can't, for whatever reason, can't click on it. So now we can go ahead. We release the air conditioning unit, release the ground power unit, and then remove chocks. And then that should be all we need on here. So we can take this over to the appropriate FMC page, which for us is going to be the active legs page for this journey, or at least for the start of this journey. And that takes care of that. Now let's get GSX ready to push us back. That's sort of our requesting pushback, right? So nose right, tail left is what we need today. We don't want to start engines before pushback. And there they come. So we'll let them do their thing. Let's start taking a look at our checklist. Gangway is disabled, doors are closed, locked, and armed. We've requested our engine start pushback with GSX just now. Beacon light needs to go on. It's all the way up here. Beacon light right in front of my face. Lots of lights right in front of my face, right? Let's stay up here for just a minute. Hydraulic demand. I try not to talk over him just so that it's, you know, it's not hard to hear either one of us. But anyway, hydraulic demand pump switches 1 through 3 on auto. 1, 2, and 3, and then 4 stays on auxiliary. Pack 1 is on, 2 and 3 are off. Or rather normal. Pack 1 is normal, 2 and 3 are off. Engine bleed air switches are on. That's these 4 down here, and of course the APU bleed needs to be on as well. And then if you come down here to our ICAS page, we want the engine page open. Now, the start procedure for this, we're not going to use an auto start. So what's going to happen is we're going to
departure check completed.
Hold on.
Flight has been inserted. Release parking brakes. Commencing push. All engines clear. Start that wheel.
Alright, so we come up top here now. Because we're going to be starting multiple engines, for some reason I had an issue yesterday, so I don't want to mess with it. I'm going to turn all 3 packs off. Alright, make sure if there's an auto start button, use the auto start, but we don't have that. So click continuous ignition on. We're going to click engines 1 and 4 on. Wait for the white light to come on. There we go. And then down here, what we're looking for is 15%, is it? Well, it's 14% on the N1. So it's that purple line, or 14 on here, which it's reached 14 already. As soon as it does that, you introduce fuel. Simple as that. Very simple startup procedure, right? I don't know why it gives us the caution light right there. Ah, don't tell me that's never going to go away now. Son of a gun. So there's a stupid freaking bug in here. Oh, this is starting to piss me off, you guys. I gotta tell you, $135 freaking for this aircraft, and PMDG can't fix a stinking bug that makes the caution light come on and stay on for an entire flight. Are you freaking kidding me? Absolutely ridiculous. You want to talk about all the time and effort that goes into making this aircraft, and that's why it's worth $135, and you won't fix these little bugs? Caution light staying on the whole flight, FMC message coming on and staying on the whole flight. You don't want to fix those bugs? That's starting to tick me off, you guys. So now we got to stare at a caution light the entire flight, because while I was starting the engines, it decided to come on, and they won't fix the bug. Come on. Alright, short rant over. My apologies. Anyway, we're waiting for 1 and 4 to finish starting now. So that we're not going to be able to do anything about that now. You can click this all day long. That light's not going to go away. There's no caution. It's not these. I can tell you that right now. You'll see. Alright. Whatever. So once engines 1 and 4 are stabilized, we're going to hop back up top. We're going to do the same thing with 2 and 3. So left click them both. They light up. You're looking for 14% on the N2, and you can see it comes up really quick. There's 11 already, 12, 13, right? And then there's 14. So introduce fuel on both of them, and then you're waiting for the engines to fire up and stabilize, and then we can roll into our after start checklist. Oh, that's just, I got a headache from that now. It's absolutely ridiculous. You know, I'm gonna have to do a little research on whether or not they plan on fixing that, to be honest with you. But the fact of the matter is, this aircraft's been out for quite a while. So if you're with PMDG, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I know a ton of effort goes into making these, but pay attention. You need to fix these stupid little bugs, okay? And don't tell me, oh, listen. Okay, somebody said, oh yeah, go into the forums, there's a post in there tells you you can go in and fix this, change that, do this, do that, and it'll get rid of the problem. Excuse me? I spent $135 on this aircraft. How about you fix it? That's my opinion. Alright, sorry, that's got me a little angry. It's early. See, so it won't go away, and it's not because of the hydraulic pressure 4. There is no master caution right now. It's just the light is stuck on, which is just stupid. But anyway, after start checklist. I shouldn't get fired up like that, should I? Okay, first things first, the APU needs to go off, and then the APU bleed air goes off. This one down here. And all the packs can go to normal. And then hydraulic demand pump selector 4 goes to auto. And what else? Engine wing anti-ice on if it's under 10 degrees Celsius. You know, I'm really getting tired of that being the standard. Okay, so if you're a real-world airline pilot, please clarify for me. Now, I've talked to a couple of my friends, and they've said otherwise, but I want to hear from you guys. Just because it's under 10 degrees Celsius doesn't mean you need anti-ice. That's stupid. That's ridiculous. Okay, I don't need anti-ice just because of the temperature. I need anti-ice if I'm in icing conditions. And I'm not in icing conditions right now. Yes, the temperature is 2 degrees Celsius, but the dew point is substantially far from that. There's not a lot of moisture in the air right now, which means, oh, you guessed it, I don't have icing conditions. Stupid. That's ridiculous. Okay, moving on. Main display, check for warnings. I mean, it must be the standard since you get a warning on the aircraft tells. But anyway, taxi lights on. See, this is what happens when I get fired up, guys. Flaps as set. Flaps set as selected in FMC. Don't mind the ridiculously stupid frickin' caution lights staring you in the face for the next frickin' 2.5 hours. Ooh, get ticked off about that. Anyway, that's going to complete our pushback. I'm going to go take a quick chill pill over here, breathe for a couple minutes, and then I'll be right back with track IR fired up and we'll be ready to taxi out. Alrighty folks, I got track IR on, everything pretty much squared away here. Let's go take a look at our taxi checklist. We've got our taxi clearance, taxiways are noted. Did we set the parking brake? We did not, so those guys are probably still down there. I did this last time too. I don't think they said set parking brake. So this happened on a different flight where they pushed us back and then either they didn't say it or I just didn't hear them say set parking brake. And so I was waiting for, we tried to go, we tried to actually pull out, and we couldn't. Let's see if they're out there. Okay, so in this case, obviously they're not. So they must have, and I just accidentally bumped the toe brakes or something like that. Anyway, moving on. So taxiways are noted. We'll do our briefing here shortly. We don't need ground guidance. And then flight control is pretty correct. And that's actually on this page right here. So we're on our engines page. We can check flight controls here, and then in some of the aircraft you have to go to the status page. Okay, so on this aircraft though we're good here. So full left, full right, neutral, and then all the way up, all the way down, and neutral, and then the rudder full left, full right, and neutral, and that takes care of our flight control check. Hold on 1 second on the video here, guys. Michael, not right in front of the door. Back over here, buddy. Just when Mom tries to come in, she's gonna hit you with the door. So scoot over here for me. It's early in the morning. My son wanted to hang out with me, and so he's laying down here with a blanket and a pillow, but he was laying right in front of the door. Anyway, okay, flight control check is complete, and that means we're ready to taxi out. So we did put the taxi light on, right? I just can't see from that freaking view. Okay, yeah, taxi light is on. Track hour coming on, a little jump here. Boom, there we go. And let me get this thing out of the way here. Okay, so that should be where we're at. Brakes off. Let's get a little thrust coming in there. And so check it out, guys. See, there's the crossfeed config. See how it's saying crossfeed config? Watch this. I'm going to put both of these on, and in a second here it's going to tell us a different crossfeed notification, and we're going to have to turn those back off. Anyway, so the issue with the throttles going into reverse thrust, see, okay. I'm trying to do 3 things here, and this is acting up. Okay, so now that message there means those need to be off. Okay, and it's not these two in the middle. You don't turn these two off, right? So now that message will go away, and then we'll probably get the other one. So the issue with the throttles, real quick, and then we're going to pull out here. I made sure that there were no other assignments assigned. We actually did that during a live stream. Sure enough, I did have something else assigned. It didn't get rid of the problem. The problem still exists, and we may even see it here when we're taxiing out. Okay, enough talky talk. Let's get this thing moving. We're a little heavy, so we're going to need a good bit of thrust to get going here. See, there it is, reverse thrust. See? Engine number 2 went into reverse already. That didn't take long. That's ridiculous. I have no idea why it's doing it. I need a new throttle quadrant. But of course, a good one is a lot of money. So that's going to probably be a while. So I don't know, maybe we'll run like a fundraiser or something like that. We'll see. But either way, right now it's just something we're going to have to deal with. Okay, taxi and departure briefing, please, because that's what we need to do. Alright guys, the taxi is going to be pretty straightforward for us. We're over here at Concourse A, right about the middle on this side. So we're going to come down over here to Lima, hang a right, pretty, like I said, real simple, down Lima to hold short of runway 9 left. Our ATIS is on 125.55 and landing clearance on 118.1. I got a little confused there. Ground for us is 121.75. Okay, moving down over it, we could go to tower frequency 2, which is for us 123.85. Let's take a look at our departure briefing real quick. If it wants to come up, there we go. Our departure today is the Varnum 2 departure, and we're over here on runway 9 left, so it's out here to Pickett, then a left to Rony, then Hoyt, then out to Varnum, and then Resby is our transition off as far as this one is concerned. So down here on runway 9 left, climb heading 095 to 1527 feet, then direct to Pickett, then on depicted route to Varnum, maintain 250 knots until you get to Hoyt out here. So pretty straightforward on that, and again, Atlanta departure for us is going to be 125.65. Alright, so other than having to deal with that engine going into reverse thrust on its own, oh, it's driving me insane. We did just fine. We got her out here. So we're holding short of the runway here. Let's go ahead and take care of our hold point checklist here. So landing lights are going to need to come on. Runway turn off lights, strobe lights all the way down here need to come on. What else we got on here? Check the flaps, because I made that mistake once before. Flaps are set to 10 here, so everything's good to go, so we can taxi onto the runway into position and hold. And then it tells us to set the parking brake. I'm not doing that anymore. Hopefully we won't have an issue like we had when we tried to take off the other day. in a live stream. So initially I messed up and I left. I didn't put the flaps down. I missed that checklist item, and so I've added it as a second check on here before takeoff. But I missed it, so we had to do an RTO. And then when we came back around and then we took off, we had the flaps set, but right after takeoff we lost thrust in engines 3 and 4 temporarily. It came back pretty quick, but when we lost it, boy, let me tell you, that aircraft yawed hard to the right. So it was pretty crazy. But anyway, let's hop over to the first officer's side over here and just double check that approach path. It doesn't look like anybody's coming on this one here. And when we look on our nav display here, and we can even zoom that down a little bit closer, we can see that those aircraft are landing on different runways. So that's good for us. Makes it easy to get out there. So track car coming back on, a little jump, or big jump in this aircraft. Parking brake is not set, so let's go ahead and bring some thrust in there and get her out on the runway. So controlling the thrust in this aircraft is an interesting prospect. I think that it takes a little more thrust to get going with these with this engine option here, which I forget which one it is. Is it the Rolls-Royce or the Pratt & Whitney? I forgot. But anyway, with the engine option on this aircraft, I think it takes a little more to get going than it does with the engine option that's on the Cargolux variant. So kind of trying to play with it. Like, see, we're almost to a stop now because I had to roll it back because we were going too quick. And I think we should start our turn right when it looks like we're about centered, which seems a little off because that wheel should be substantially further behind us. But see, then when I do that, it looks like we overshot it. So, I don't know, that's a little weird to me. But, such is life, right? So we'll swing her around here, and then, so it looked like we overshot it, and now it looks like we're going to undercut it. So, a little frustrating on trying to get lined up sometimes. Yeah, we were going to undercut it just a little bit there. Alright, there's the center of the runway, or pretty close. We're actually just a little bit offline, but that's alright. Okay, so we're going to hold the brakes, bring the engines up. Hope we don't get that stupid reverse thrust thing going on. Supposed to bring them up to 70%, give or take. We're bringing them up to about 50, and then release brakes and hit the toga button. And remember, it's a takeoff 2, so it's not full thrust. Thrust set, airspeed alive. Hands are on the throttles.
80 knots.
Check. That guy's gonna cut right in front of us. Son of a gun.
V1. Rotate. V2.
Did he stop? Nope, he didn't stop. He just cut right across the runway, didn't he? Positive rate gear coming up. I almost rejected takeoff, but I decided not to. I got to get an ATC program that controls AI traffic, guys. Alright, looking good on our climb out here. I did set the trim in case anybody's wondering, I just didn't show it. Alright, we're looking pretty good here. Okay. Hitting thrust reduction height, so that nose is going to need to come down. We're just following the flight director right now. And it's looking fantastic. Keep that nose coming down. Frame rates are doing beautiful. I'm loving it. We're almost to where we can go to flaps 5. Now we want to get above this number on the speed tape. I'll pop that up for you. You can't pop it up on that side, can you? We want to get above the 5, which we are now, obviously. Once you're above it, then you can go to that flap setting for retracting flaps. Okay, when you're bringing the flaps in, it's the same thing. You want to do it when it's above it, but not too soon above it. Otherwise, you're going to end up being too fast for that flap setting. I hope that makes sense to everybody. We can go to flaps 1 now as well. And then you see our flaps up setting there. But I'm not going to go flaps all the way up yet because I don't want to exceed 250 knots below 10,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the flaps setting at 1, and that way that'll keep that speed tape set at 250, and that's what I want for right now. So let's go ahead and just continue to fly this departure. And you can see the flight directors starting to slowly come up. And so what I'm trying to do here is I'm just trying to keep that speed just a touch below 250 knots. There we go, looking pretty good right there. Nice climb out. Get through some clouds here, and we should start making a left turn here shortly. So it's going to be a little up and down. There's just a little bit of turbulence here. It's not too bad. There's that left turn. And you got to watch that nose will drop on you when you start making that left turn, so you certainly want to keep an eye on it, right? Keep it from descending all of a sudden. Oh yeah, we're looking good here. Just following the flight director. Coming up on 10,000 feet here pretty soon. Now somebody did ask me in the comments, they said, how come you don't just turn the autopilot on right after takeoff? Well, I like to hand fly the aircraft. So sometimes I'll turn it on a little earlier than other times, but ultimately, I mean, that's what I'm here to do. I want to fly. So that's why I get really frustrated when frame rates get really bad, because if you can't fly the aircraft on the approach, then it's just not as much fun. A little more to the left now. Again, watch that vertical profile there. You want to make sure that nose doesn't drop, so you're going to have to pull back just a little bit on the yoke there. Don't yank it though. If you yank it, you're going to end up dropping a lot of speed and climbing really fast. And you can see that flight director, the vertical portion of the flight director, it goes up and down a little bit. So don't chase it too much. All right, just kind of keep it near it. You know, chase it gently like it's going back up right now, and then see it's already coming back down. So I don't want to chase that thing. I just want to kind of hold my climb where I've got it at right now, which is about 10 degrees nose up, and that's a pretty solid climb rate right there. So I'm okay with that. There's 10,000 feet. So let's get the autopilot on real quick. Track IR coming off, a little jump, and that'll allow me to take care of my lights and stuff a little easier. And I might get a notification on my ACARS. I'm not running ACARS on this one, but you might get a notification, hey, you were over, or your landing lights were on when you were over 10,000 feet. Let's go ahead and bring the flaps all the way up. That's going to allow the aircraft to bring the nose down and accelerate now using the VNAV profile. But anyway, I might get a little notice on that saying, hey, you know, your landing lights were on, but we know we got them off right after we got above 10,000 feet. That's just because ACARS tracks it rather close, right? So it's still climbing at 250 knots, but the flaps weren't all the way up. Let's see if it increases speed or not. It doesn't look like it's going to right now. It looks like it wants to climb at 250 knots. That's kind of crazy. Usually the speed will increase there. But anyway, let's go ahead and let's take a look at our after takeoff checklist here. Landing and taxi lights need to be off. They are. TCAS biasing mode is fine. We've got traffic turned on. That's what we want. Engine and wing anti-ice on under 10 degrees Celsius. It's +5, so we can turn them on. So we'll go ahead and turn them on. I still don't entirely agree with that. We're not in icing conditions, so I don't see the point, to be honest with you. Continuous ignition can go off. Now, if you try to click it from here, you're going to end up clicking this guy here. So jump up top, click that off. That takes care of that. Now it wants to increase speed, so that's good. What else we got on here? Altimeter, you just want to readjust that once you get above 18,000 feet, which we'll do here shortly. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for some of that obligatory elevator music. Alrighty folks, we're scheduled for the Casper 6 arrival today, and we're supposed to come in off the Rochester VOR over here. And normally what we would do is we'd hang a, from where we're coming from anyway, we'd hang a left over here to Casper and then on in from there. But that's not actually going to apply to us. We're going to cut some of this out due to the approach that we're going to be flying. But just so that we've covered the arrival brief real quick, it would be the Rochester VOR and then 286 degrees off of there to Casper, and then a right turn to Zibby, Pepper, and then Amit on in from there, making sure that we're at 10,000 feet at Delzy. Again, this isn't going to apply to us because we're not actually going to fly this entire arrival, but we figure might as well brief it anyway, right? So the 8 is on 135.35, airport elevation is at 842 feet. Alrighty folks, going to be coming up on top of the descent here pretty quick. It's been flickering back and forth a little bit. I don't know if it's just minor changes in the wind or what. Hold on one second. Anyway, we got about 40 nautical miles till top of descent. Of course, we've got a little bit of housekeeping to do before we start scooting on down. The first thing I like to do, because I tend to talk a lot, is I like to go ahead and reset my MCP altitude. And we're going to set it all the way down to 3,000s. Now again, that's not our first clear to altitude. I just do that so that it's one less thing that I have to worry about focusing on while doing everything else, getting set up for the approach. The right way to do it, of course, would be using ATC, set it to whatever the first cleared altitude is based on ATC's instructions or based on the star, the arrival and all that stuff. But we're going to set it to 3,000. Bear with me on that, please. Now, moving on. Let's see. We got to grab our airport information. We've actually already done that. We've done our arrival briefing as well. We'll be doing our approach briefing here shortly. So we're good on airport information. We also need to grab the ATIS, even though we got to grab it again later. So right now the wind is 320 at 7 knots, altimeter 3035, negative 19 degrees Celsius. Most important for us to note right now is that it's overcast at 7,500 feet, which is going to play into our approach a little bit. And moving on, we need to set the auto brakes. We've got tons of runway to work with. but I'm going to set the auto brakes to 2 just to help us out a little bit. So there's 1 and there's 2. Don't forget the auto brake selectors in different places in different models of the aircraft. And then jumping down to the FMC, we've actually already set it up, but you would go to your departure arrival page. You would select your runway, which is going to be the ILS 30 left for us, and you would select your arrival, and you get all that set up. And then you need to go to your initial reference page. You need to select your landing VREF in here. So we're going to go flaps 30, and it's 136 knots. So that's our landing speed, so our approach speed is going to be 141 knots. And we want to keep that in mind as well. Don't forget that caution light won't go out. I do want to show you guys something here real quick. If I hit the recall button, you see these fuel override 3 aft, 3 forward, 2 aft, 2 forward, right? So that's these guys right here. And if I turn them back on, it'll go away for a second, and then it'll come back on in a minute. So I went into the QRH and looked that up, and I followed the procedure that it tells you to do to get that to go away. But basically it has to do with low pressure in there. So if I click on the fuel over here, you'll see they're yellow down here. So they're having an issue with the pressure. Now I don't know what's causing the issue, but the procedure in the QRH did not resolve that issue. It's not a problem for us. It doesn't really affect the flight of the aircraft. But they are going to come back on here in a couple of minutes, and they probably will before I get done bumping my gums. But anyway, I did address those, so if you see those, there they are starting to pop up again. So normally when they come on, you simply turn them on. So 3 forward and then 2 aft and forward will all need to go off. So here's 3 forward and then 2 aft and forward. And then you see we still got a pressure light here and a pressure light here. And we still have all of these down here. So anyway, the issue persists, and it's something we'll have to take a look at on the ground. Moving on here, we'll descend using VNAV. We'll allow the aircraft to control the descent, but of course we'll keep an eye on it. And that's pretty much it. That's going to take us all the way up to our initial approach checklist, which we're not going to do right at the moment. And so I'm just going to cancel that out so that you don't have to stare at it. And let's go ahead and let's take care of that approach briefing. Alrighty guys, we're going to be flying the ILS runway 30 left approach today. ATIS on 135.55, Minneapolis approach is on 126.95. For us, the tower is on 126.7, and ground will be on the north side by the time we get done. So, actually, we'll probably be more on the west side. So it's going to be 127.9 or 2. Localizer frequency is 110.3. The identifier is India Mike Sierra Papa. Final approach course, 301 degrees with a glide slope intercept at Narco at 3,000 feet. ILS decision altitude is 1,023 feet, and the airport elevation is 842 feet, with a touchdown zone elevation of 823 feet. Missed approach procedures: climb to 1,300 feet, then climb to 3,000 feet on heading 301, and outbound on the Minneapolis VOR 298 degree radial. Take that out to Waxib intersection and then hold there until instructed otherwise by ATC. So for us, we're coming in out here at Hasty. That's why we're going to break off of that arrival early. Otherwise, we'd have to come down over here and then back to Hasty. That's not going to work for us, obviously. Then to Pinky, Pigsy, Abiz, Narco, Egan, and then on in from there. And on your profile view, you can see at Abiz, we're supposed to be at 4,000 feet, and then a quick descent to 3,000 feet. Down to Narco, intercept the ILS or the glide slope, down to Egan and in from there. We should have happy lights on the left-hand side. Our ILS decision altitude again 1,023 feet with a minimum runway visual range of 1/2 mile. Alrighty folks, you can see we just made our turnout here at H.O.T.A.S. Let's go ahead and bring this down one notch. Let's take care of this initial approach checklist. HOTAS has been obtained. Approach briefing is complete. Decision height and MDA bugs are set. And let's go ahead and hit the localizer switch here real quick. Should lock onto that immediately. It did. Still pretty far out here, so I'm not going to hit the approach switch quite yet. Landing data is checked and set. Seatbelt selector is on. ICUS recall check. So when we hit the recall, we're going to get those again. Other than that, though, we're good. Auto brake selector is set to 2. Lights are as required. Those are all good to go. Altimeters are set 3035. And flaps will be as required. We can bring in that first setting of flaps now. There we go. Looking good there. And what else we got here? TCAS is good. Speed brakes. We can go ahead and arm the speed brakes. There we go. Speed brakes are armed. And that'll leave us with our final approach checklist, which I'll try not to mess up and forget to do again. And we're looking pretty good here. Let's go ahead and hit the approach switch now. Waiting for it to intercept that glide slope, which it should here shortly. And I'm surprised the speed is still as high as it is, to be honest with you. Again, we're looking for, we changed by 1 knot, so it's going to be 135 is the landing speed, 140 is the approach speed. So I'm going to go ahead and take over the speed for now, because we're pretty fast here. We need to get down to about 180 knots. Start slowing her down there. It's still on VNAV path. There's the glide slope. That's what I'm looking for. 3,000 feet is our go-around altitude, so we're going to leave that as is. And with the glide slope out, let's get the next setting of flaps in. And here shortly, we could probably bring the gear down already. In fact, I'm certain we can, but we're going to wait just a second here. Let a little bit of speed bleed off. Get it down to about 220. There we go. Go ahead and drop that landing gear, and that's going to put a lot of drag out there for us. Let's go ahead and bring this all the way down to 140 now. That's what I like to see. That speed coming down. We can obviously see the runway dead ahead, so we're going to get things squared away here. Next setting of flaps coming in.
2,500.
All that drag's going to slow her down nicely. Oh yeah. Looking good, guys. Next setting of flaps, there's flaps 20. And flaps 30. Let's take care of this approach checklist. Flaps are set, gear is down and locked. Speed brake is armed. ILS is captured, and everything else is just flying the aircraft. So track IR coming on a little jump here. Let's hope these frame rates hold out. They're not looking too bad. We're going to leave the auto throttles on, because they will automatically reduce at flare. So we're going to leave those on. Let's go take the autopilot off. Somebody made a pretty big deal out of doing that on the yoke there, Vice. Doing it with the switch up here. So not really sure why. I think they mentioned it in the comments, and they even said why, but not 100% positive why that is. So alright, looking pretty good here. Just kind of nice and easy. It looks like the controls are moving hard, but I'm really not moving them hard. They just kind of jump around a little bit when you move them. You guys know how that is. A little nose up trim here. Looking good. Getting just a skosh low. I want to get just... See, we're just coming under the glide slope a little, so I'm trying to just reduce the rate of descent ever so slightly. Not too much, so I put in just a little nose up trim. There we go. Looking good. That should get us back on the glide slope here. We want to be at about 700 to 750 feet per minute. There's really no wind to speak of, but for some reason she's drifting just a little bit on us. Probably my fault. In fact, I'm sure it is. There we go. Looking good right there. Alright. Let's hope we don't need to do a missed approach here. We have no traffic in front of us. Frame rates seem to be holding out pretty good, which is nice. This is a beautifully done airport, by the way, guys. So, really stoked about this airport. And I just want to say thank you again to Jay. Jay, that was absolutely awesome. What an amazing gift. Thank you very much. Alright, let's listen for our call-outs, guys, and see how we get, see how the landing goes here on the way in, huh? Little tiny bit of chop in there, not too bad. Lights look beautiful. Nice straightforward approach. Get just a scotch high there. Let's bring that nose over just a little. There we go, looking good right there. Yeah, a little chop right here on the end. Let's hope that goes away. Again, listening for call-outs.
Minimums.
I got a little wild on my approach there, didn't I? Alright, let's bring her in nice and easy. Last flight for this aircraft.
Terrain.
Not for us, but real world.
50. 30. 20. 10.
Nice and smooth on the landing. Oh, that was butter, guys. Bring in some reverse. That was beautiful right there. There's 80 knots. Take the reverse out. Wing anti-ice needs to come off. And we took the nacelle anti-ice off as well. Slowing down nicely, we'll take this first exit here. There's that reverse kicking in again. There we go. Didn't mean to quite drop to zero there. Alright, let's get her off the runway here. See which taxiway we're going to be on. This is going to be Alpha. And yeah, I think we're going to be parking actually like right over here. So I tried to use GSX to set up the parking for us, and no dice, guys. For some reason it keeps crashing. The KATL scripting engine keeps crashing when I try to set it up. So I gave up on it. Let's bring her to a stop here. Nice and easy. Let's take care of this after landing checklist. First things first, track hours coming off, little jump. Flaps coming up. But she doesn't want to stop, does she? Let's make sure those spoilers are down. Let's go ahead and start the APU. Right click it twice. Get those landing lights off. We don't need those anymore. Runway turn-off lights can go off, and strobe lights can go off, which is that one right there. And let's take a look, excuse me, at our after landing checklist. I always forget the transponder, so let's turn the transponder off. That's this one down here. Hand off to ground, or to ground, yeah, not worried about that. Taxiways, we're going to note those in a second. Flaps are set to 0. Speed brake disengaged. Auto brakes need to come off. They disarm themselves, but we turn them to the off position now. Landing lights are off, strobe lights are off, and then APU start. And then let me just pull up my chart here real quick. So we exited onto Alpha, looks like at Charlie, right? Yeah, it looks like we exited Alpha at Charlie. We're right next to that other runway over there. So we should be parking right over here on the end. Now the only problem is without GSX, I don't know. Let's see if it crashes again. System error. Yeah, so it doesn't, it's having a problem with accessing the file here or something. So the problem is I'm not sure. This is our terminal right here. The issue is finding a parking space. So what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and break away for a minute, find us a parking space, and then we'll come back on and we'll take care of the shutdown procedures. Alrighty, folks, we got her in our parking space here, and if you're wondering why the caution light is now out, it's because I had to reload the aircraft after creating those cinematics. I had an error, all kinds of issues. It was kind of crazy. So maybe I'll save that for a blooper reel sometime or something. But anyway, so that's why we've reloaded the aircraft. But we're in the state we were when we parked. The only exception is the flight plan is no longer inside the FMC. But other than that, we're ready for our shutdown and parking checklist. So the parking brake is set. APU Gen 1 and 2 need to come on. That's these two up top here. And then APU bleed goes on as well. And that shuts down those 4 generators. That's what that notification was just now. APU bleed is on. Engine bleeds can go off. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. Engine hydraulic pumps can go off. That's these 4 down here. 3 and 4. And then fuel control switches to the cutoff position down below. And since I've reloaded it, I just want to see if GSX will take care of the jetways for us. It will not. I don't know what this file is. It says create file. The system cannot find the specified. Come on, you're killing me here. Flight beam, scenery, BGL, system 2. Not really sure what that is, so I have to look into that. But anyway, so it's not going to let us do the jetways or anything, which is a little frustrating. But such is life sometimes, right? Let's go ahead and cancel the ICUS there. Okay, moving on. Seatbelt signs can go off. This will let the passengers offload, even though we're not going to be able to do it because we can't do the jetways apparently. And then open doors, gangway, and then beacon lights come off. Oops, sorry about that. That's the nav lights, not the beacon lights. There we go. Beacon lights come off. Ground power on if available. So we need to hop down here and scoot over here to our ground connections. Let's go ahead and set the wheel chocks. Request the ground power, and we'll request the air conditioning unit as well, which would also provide heat, I believe. And then coming back up top here, once ground power is available, which it is, put it on, and then APU bleed goes off, APU goes off, yaw dampers go off, hydraulic demand switches all go off, continuous ignition goes off. It's off already just from the reload. Auto start goes off. IRS systems 1 through 3 go off. Click them twice. You can't double click them. You gotta wait till it gets to a line to click it again. It's kind of annoying actually. Left and right utilities go off. Fuel pumps all off. You can hear everything starting to quiet down a little bit in here. Window heat goes off. That's this one down. These two down here. Engine wing anti-ice is already off. Aft cargo heat goes off. Running out of mouse space over here. Trim air, gasper, upper and lower recirc all go off. Packs 1 through 3 off. And we don't normally go quite this far, but we're going to today. Left and right isolation switches off. Generator control switches off. That's these 4 here. We don't need them. TCAS is already in standby. If still on APU power, then the APU, well, we already turned the APU off, so ground power can go off now. External power 1, external power 2, all external lights off. I just turned the strobe lights on because I'm an idiot. Logo lights off. Bus tie switches off. Standby power selector off. And battery off. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the last flight for Delta Airlines passenger service in the Boeing 747. Kind of a sad moment, actually. Be a lot better if we at least had jetways over there, but that's going to wrap it up for this flight, ladies and gentlemen. We've got her completely shut down. Passengers, will assume, are unloaded at this point, and a tug is going to come over, grab a hold of this airplane, and tow it off the line, and it is no longer in active service, at least in the real world. For us, yeah, you can bet we're still going to fly this sucker as much as we can. Love this airplane, absolutely beautiful, and I love this KMSP scenery. Look at how good a job they did on this. It's just amazing. Absolutely beautifully done. Love it with the snow coming in here. Just absolutely astounding. I'm blown away by it, and I think it's just fantastic. So, folks, I hope that you enjoyed this flight. I know that I did. It actually is just mildly sad when you think about the real-world ramifications of what this flight actually entailed, but for us here in the flight sim, it's going to be alright. We're going to carry on and continue to fly this bird for many hours to come. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. It only takes half a second. If you click on the little bell, it'll give you notifications when I upload videos. There's apparently a competition with the notification squad to see who can be the first to put a comment on my videos, which is kind of funny. I find that both funny and kind of cool at the same time. So like us on Facebook, folks. I do put announcements over there. I've been putting pictures over there, communicating with folks over there, so make sure you like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Now, video releases do go to Twitter as well, but other than that, I don't really do anything on Twitter because I don't have very many followers over there. And you can still follow us on Twitch. As of right now, I have no intentions of getting rid of my Twitch account at CaptainMac3588. I may still stream over there. We'll see how it goes. But most of the live streams have been on YouTube lately because it reaches a wider audience. So that's what we're probably going to stick with. So that's it, folks. That's going to wrap it up for this one. So as always, until next time, keep the blue side up, unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all, and have a fantastic day.